Good morning, this is Michelle with Purposeful Happiness, and I am bringing to you my technique for painting this abstract horse book cover. I have a tub of paint and I just randomly pulled some out to see what I could do. I also covered some hardboards with book cloth and did a flat spine so that I could lay it out like it's a canvas. So the first thing I did was paint it with gesso, and then I printed a horse off of the computer just to see if I could get the shape. Now I'm just taking random paints of a bunch of different colors and trying to use those in the background. I also put some of the paints with Floetrol so that they would be more, I guess, runny and they drip without watering down any of the paint. So the first thing we're going to do is take this horse template, and you can freehand this. I was a little worried I wouldn't get the shape just right. So I'm just putting it down on the book, and it will be bigger than what this sketch looks like. But what I'll do is come around with just a pencil and outline the shape and then make the body much bigger so that it covers the entire book. And you can see I'm just doing a basic outline here. Now on the second cover, I did a white acrylic paint over the whole book so that you didn't have any of that background showing, and I would recommend doing that. I wasn't as happy with the shadowing of the book cloth underneath the gesso when the completed piece was done. But I figure you do a couple of and you figure out what you like and what you don't like about some of the pieces. So I am going to fast forward through most of this video because I'm just taking a palette knife and I'm just going to fill in my outline with some black, titanium black, I believe it is. And you can use as much or a little of the black as you want, and really you could use any color. I wanted a black base so that some of my paints would pop through, but yet the basic shape of the horse would still be underneath. So I will fast forward it and then pick up when we start adding new color. And about here's when I decided to start adding the color. Now again, I've done 2 of these covers, and on the second cover I went ahead and did the entire body of the horse in black. And I was happy with that as well. You don't have to wait for the layers to dry. I'm wiping the palette knife off and with a really light hand just going over the top of the black so it doesn't smear. And this takes a little bit of time. Your piece will be as complex or as simple as you'd like it. And I apologize that the canvas is slightly off camera. When I rotated it, it cut off a big portion of it. Later in the video, it'll be adjusted again. But I'm taking some colors that I just thought might go together. As you go along, you can pull extra paints out of your box and try to go for something different than what you started with. It's not a problem. And so here I'll just continue adding color until I'm happy with the coverage. And as with any project, you could go back through and spend hours doing this. So at some point you just have to stop and try to finish the piece. But I will fast forward again past this part and come back. So here I've decided I'm going to take some of the paint that I had in the cups that I had thinned with the Floetrol, and you can get that at a hardware store, art supply store. It's really inexpensive, but it makes that paint, the acrylic paint, a little more fluid. And I'm just dropping in some color here so that it's not all combined with the palette knife. And I don't show what I do to what I call fix the book, but I decided to add the mane with a bit of the palette knife later over the top of this. So that process isn't shown, but the finished book you'll see, I just had to do a little swirls off the neck to try to get it to blend a little better. And the most basic and unsophisticated technique that I'll use to get some of the splatter is a blow dryer and the paints with the Floetrol. And I have gray, purple, red, yellow, and you'll see here in a second I'll start the blow dryer. And first time doing this I ended up with some blobs, so I tried to clean it up a little bit. So you'll have to work with it, and really I was happy with the finished piece, so I didn't think that it was a problem if you have to wipe off a couple of blobs. But the hairdryer will start, so I will mute this so that you can just see the technique. So I am just going back in and adding some more bronze and brown, and I didn't like the way that the colors were coming together, so at this point I'm just experimenting with as many different colored paints that I have to see if I can take some of these palette knife swipes down a little bit. Some of the strokes were a little larger than I wanted. I should also say that I'm not using expensive art paints. Some of the colors I have are golden paints that are artist paints that are a little bit thicker, but you could easily just use the acrylic craft paint. And for a big part of the horse and a lot of these different colors, that's exactly what I used. And I didn't have any problem with the two different types of paint combining or layering over each other. So here I am starting the blow dryer up, and I just have a chopstick that I'm dipping into the thin paint, and I am trying to hold the blow dryer with one hand and the chopstick with the other, so it gets a little clumsy in the video, as you'll see. But basically, I'm just putting the blow dryer around areas that I want to try to blow the paint, which is, my vision is I want the mane to be really as though the abstract paint is just flowing off of the cover as though the horse is running. And it's a lot of experimentation and testing, but I'm happy with the blow dryer technique and I would use it again, but make sure you have a backstop for your paints. As I did blow paint all over the place doing this. And as you can see here, you'll see where I took the palette knife and threw the mane out a little bit. And here's what the book looks like folded and put together. I still have to put the papers in, but there's a shot of it just standing. The book is just standing upright, but you can see where I took the palette knife and pulled a little bit of that out, and I like that technique a lot better. And thank you for watching. I'm including here the second book that I worked on, and you can tell I made that paint much more fluid, as though it was coming off the horse. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to any that you have. Leave them in the comments, or you can message me directly, no problem. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thanks.